Hi, this is Charles with AniCap. Today's anime is called Wolf Children. We are almost at 15,000 subscribers, so please consider subscribing. Thanks. At the beginning of the film, we hear a girl named Yuki tell us of a magical tale. A tale so unbelievable that people make fun of her. It is the tale of her mother, Hana, who fell in love with a wolf. Her mother was a student at Tokyo University. One day, she came across a mysterious boy in her classroom she had never seen before. The boy looked out of place in the class with his ragged clothing. When class ended, the boy left the class without filling out his attendance. Hana chased after him, but he coldly answered her, saying that he wasn't a student at the university and that she shouldn't have bothered. Hana still invites the boy to come for the class again and share her textbook. We learn that both Hana and the boy have jobs that they do to make ends meet. The two develop a weird relation over the coming days, where Hana starts to share her textbook with him and also lets him use the university facilities under her name. The two have a conversation and ask each other lots of questions. She reveals that she was named Hana because her dad named her after a flower, and he wanted her to smile through the hardships of life, just like a flower. The time they spent with each other grew, and they started waiting for each other. One night, the boy reveals that he wanted to have a home for himself, a place where he could belong. Hana sneaks in a cheeky line saying that she could belong there too if he doesn't mind. Christmas time rolls around and Hana hurries to their usual meetup spot, but the boy isn't there. Hana waits there in the cold for hours, to no avail. Finally, the boy arrives and apologizes to Hana. He takes her atop a hill and asks her to close her eyes before he transforms into a wolf, revealing his true form. The boy was a descendant of a race with both human and wolf blood. The two then make love and Hana vows to never leave him. They start living together and their lives start to turn colorful. They do everything together, from shopping to eating. Hana learns that she is pregnant, and out of fear of what the people at the hospital would do if they learned about the father, she endures it on her own. As the snow fell outside, Hana gives birth to Yuki, their firstborn daughter. The two again vow to do everything they can to make their daughter happy. The following spring, Hana gives birth to a son, Ame. The day Ame is born, it is raining, and the father of the family steps outside but doesn't return. Worried, Hana grabs her children and goes out in search of her husband. She comes across some rescue workers pulling out a wolf's corpse out of the river. It is him. He had perished while hunting for fresh meat for his newborn. Hana cried relentlessly as they loaded his body into the truck and drove away, without letting her come near. Hana swears to take good care of their children on her own. She has her hands full taking care of two wolf-human hybrids, and it isn't an easy job. They are always switching between wolf and human forms and wreaking havoc around the house. Neither Hana nor the children know how to go about it. Hana has to figure out everything on her own, like taking care of the kids when they get sick, or how to handle the kids' appearance. The problems start to grow and the people start growing suspicious of Hana and her kids. The landlord even says they don't allow any pets in the building. Hana decides to move to the countryside so that the kids can have some more freedom growing up. She settles on a worn-out, abandoned house in the middle of nowhere. The place looks like it had been through a war, but Hana is adamant about living there. She repairs the place on her own from the ground up. From carpentry to repairing the roof, she does it all by herself. Through all this, she makes the kids promise her that they will never transform in front of other people, and that it is their little secret. Things are finally going well, but they start running out of money. Hana decides to learn gardening so that they can be self-sustainable. She plows the fields and lays the seeds, but the crop turns out to be bad. She tries again and again, but they keep getting the same results. Hana decides to let the kids learn how to hunt, so they at least know some basic survival skills. Yuki is first and learns how to hunt in no time, whereas Ame is a bit shy and seems disinterested. One day, Ame breaks down in tears and says that he doesn't want to be a wolf, because in the picture books, the wolves are always the bad guys and that they always get killed in the end. Hana reassures Ame, saying that she likes wolves. Later, the new crop of plants had wilted again. An old man from the village nearby, Nirasaki, drops by Hana's home to tell her that she isn't cut out for this life and drives away. Hana is a bit disheartened, but Nirasaki sends his daughter over with some seed potatoes to help Hana out. Nirasaki starts coming up himself to mentor Hana on how to grow vegetables. He is a bit harsh in his ways, but he teaches Hana a lot about farming. Soon afterwards, other people from the village also start coming up to help Hana. Two men approach her and teach her a lot more about farming. They tell her how planting certain combinations of vegetables can drive away the bugs, and how to properly use fertilizer. Although they fight more amongst themselves over their disagreements, they still help out Hana a lot. Hana also starts to connect with the neighbors more and learns that she has a nice community around her, who are all helping each other out. She reminisces that maybe moving out to the country was the best decision she could have taken for the kids. One snowy day, as they are playing in the forest, Ame slips and falls into the river. Yuki manages to save him from drowning, but this triggers a tragic memory inside Hana. She remembers how the father of her children died and breaks down in tears when she finds Ame and Yuki washed up on the bank. The long winter passes and Yuki is at the age for going to school. She does everything she can to convince Hana to let her go, and it works out. Hana agrees to let Yuki go to school if she promises never to turn into a wolf in front of other people. To support the kids, Hana takes up a job as a conservationist. Some time passes and Yuki is coming to a realization that she is different from the other girls too. While they are out in the field picking flowers, Yuki is catching snakes. Other girls also weren't collecting bones of dead animals and mummified lizards. Yuki vows to be more ladylike from then on, and adjusts well to her new school life, but Ame is having trouble fitting in. Years pass, and Yuki grows into a diligent little girl, but Ame couldn't be more disinterested in school. Hana started taking Ame up to her job at the conservatory as he grows distant from school. He starts spending more time in the woods. On the other hand, Yuki's class gets a new transfer student, Sohei. Sohei realizes that Yuki is different from the other girls. Yuki starts avoiding him after he makes a remark about how she smells like she had a dog at home. One day, Sohei corners Yuki and asks her if he did something to make her mad. Yuki is flustered and transforms into a wolf, injuring Sohei's ear in the exchange even though she didn't mean to hurt him. Hana is called to school for Yuki's actions, but during the meeting, Sohei says that it was a wolf who did this to him and not Yuki. This saves Yuki from any of the blame and leaves Sohei's mother speechless. Yuki goes to her mother and apologizes for her actions, saying that she didn't mean to do it. A few days pass and Yuki hasn't been going to school, so Sohei goes to her home to check up on her. He leaves the homework for the day at their doorstep and leaves without saying anything. This continues as Sohei keeps bringing homework and snacks for Yuki to eat. One day, Hana invites him inside for something to drink, and Sohei tells her that he doesn't want Yuki to stop coming to school, and that she wasn't the one who hurt him. Sohei and Yuki make up and eventually become good friends. Meanwhile, Ame has been spending more time in the mountains. He tells Hana that someone he calls Sensei teaches him all about life, and that he lives up in the mountains. Ame blurts out that the person he calls Sensei isn't actually a person, but in fact a fox. The fox teaches Ame all about surviving in the wild and being an animal, as Ame grows more and more connected to his inner wolf. One day, Yuki and Ame get into a fight over whether they are wolves or humans. The two fail to reach an understanding and the whole house is in shambles as a result of their fight. Hana tries to come to terms with the fact that her kids are growing up and starting to choose their own path. More time passes and Ame has started spending more and more time up in the mountains. One year, there are a record number of storms. During one of these storms, Ame's sensei hurts his leg. Ame goes home to tell Hana that the forest needs a new guardian and that someone has to take his place. Hana tries to persuade Ame and tells him not to leave since he is just a kid. The next day, a severe rainstorm hits the area. Hane is called to pick Yuki up from school due to the weather conditions, and Ame sneaks out of the house to go to the mountains while she is on call. Hana tries following him out in the rain, but the weather conditions are too extreme for her. She tries her best to call out to him, but Ame doesn't respond. After searching for Ame to no avail, Hana breaks down and starts crying. She tumbles and falls down a cliff, hurting herself badly in the process. Before passing out, her last thoughts are of protecting her children. At school, Sohei and Yuki are the only ones left there. Yuki comes clean to Sohei, saying that the wolf he saw that day was her. Sohei says that he had known all along, and that she didn't need to worry anymore. Yuki feels relieved and thanks Sohei. Meanwhile, Hana has a vision of her children's father, saying that she did a wonderful job raising their kids. He also says that Ame is an adult now and has found his calling. He tells Hana not to worry about him anymore as she passes out. Ame carries his mother to a safe place and leaves without saying a word. Hana calls out to him, but he runs away. Ame howls as the sun comes up, and Hana realizes that he is now where he belongs. The two look at each other as they both know that this is goodbye. The next year, Yuki moves away to live in the dorm of her junior high school. Hana smiles and reminisces about the time she had spent raising her children. Yuki knows that she can leave as her mother would be happy alone. Even now, Hana lives in that old countryside house, alone but content. She'd hear a wolf's howl sometimes and smile again thinking about her family.